Welcome to another episode of For the Sake of Heaviness. Butch can't be here today. He sends his regards to all of you, but we have from the mighty Brazilian band Creatures, Mateus, Cantaleäno. Mateus, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to
Yeah,
have you on.
it's my pleasure, man. It's great to be here. It's great to
So,
finally be able to talk to you.
oh man, we've been waiting to put this together, so we're super happy that you were able to jump on with us today. So let's first of all, Creatures 2 came out in November and you guys have been extremely visible. There's been a lot of positive energy, positive reviews. You're very visible on YouTube. You've got a lot of stuff coming up, but before we jump into all that, I just kind of want to back up and get a little history on the band because before Creatures 2 came out, there was, I guess, not officially
Oh,
titled Creatures 1.
that's awesome. You have the first album.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'll be very honest with you. I kind of stumbled across Creatures on complete accident. I was just going down one of those YouTube rabbit hole things and clicking on all kinds of videos. And you
Yeah.
guys had just re-released Nothing Lasts Forever. And I was mesmerized. And I'm like, wow, who are these guys? So I went backwards and I jumped into everything. So from Brazil, I think a lot of people first think, oh, Sepultura or the thrash scene in Brazil, and you guys are sort of the other side of the metal realm from that. So just can you tell us how Creatures came together, how it was formed?
First Creatures was just a solo, let's put it this way, a solo project of mine. I started the band alone. It was nothing that I was, thinking a lot about. I just had some riffs and some songs, and I wanted to record it, so I did it. I remember I was taking guitar lessons at the time, and the guy who was my teacher, he was also a producer. So I kind of exchanged my guitar lessons for recording sessions, And then
Nice, nice.
then I started to record the music. The first one was "Dressed to Die." Started to record the riffs and stuff, and then I met Bob, who was the previous vocalist, the previous
Right, right.
singer, and he liked the songs and he wanted to sing too. So we did the first album, kind of me and him, and this guy who was producing, he helped me a lot with the other instruments, like drums and stuff. But
Right.
this is like was this is how the first album was made. And then I I released some songs, and then Bart Gabriel, a guy from Poland, he got in touch with me and wanted to release the album for his label. It was a small label called Iron Oxide Records, and then we released the album, and it was cool. People this helped, and people was starting to like it. I started to receive a lot of messages and people complimenting the album and stuff, and then it kind of gets more serious. I was people here were asking me for live shows and stuff, and then I started to think about that. And unfortunately, Bob, he moved to Canada, so he kind of left the band because of this. And then
Okay.
I found Mark
Right.
and the rest of the band, Sydney and Rick. I found them and they joined the band, and that's how it is working till now.
So is everybody fairly local? I know you mentioned that you had just moved, but is the band fairly local where you guys can get together to rehearse fairly often?
So me and the band, the instrumental band, we live in the same city,
Okay.
but the vocalist Mark, he's from another state. It's far away. It's like about like 9 hours,
Oh,
and
wow.
when driving or in a bus, so it's we don't see each other too much, but
Okay.
we just met when we have some band compromises, or no, when we are going to through a show. There's a city called São Paulo. I guess
Yep.
you heard about. It's like the it's not actually the capital of Brazil, but it's like where everything happens, you know. So most
Right, right,
shows, most bands, they go to there, and then we kind of met a lot of times in it's middle of the way, you know.
right, right.
It is between his city and ours, so we most of the time we met there, and it's like this.
Sure, sure. No, I completely understand. So speaking of Mark, you guys kind of re-released the single, like an updated single for Nothing Lasts Forever, and made a video for that.
Mhm.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the video for Danger came out not too long after that one. So were
It's a little
those?
bit before
It
actually.
was before. Okay, okay. I wasn't real sure. Like I was telling you earlier, I kind of stumbled across that video and was instantly just drawn in, and I copied the link and sent it to my partner Butch. I'm like, dude, you got to check this out. It's so good. So those two videos were released prior to Creatures 2 coming out. Was that specifically so you could have an introduction for Mark and as the new singer?
Yeah, it was exactly that. You know, when Bob left the band, and at first Mark would just do the live shows. He wouldn't be part of the band, but he would just play the first shows, you know.
Hmm.
And then we became very how can I say very close, you know. We were became good friends, and then he we think fall, you know. There's no need to find another singer, you know, because we
Sure.
already got you, and you're doing a great job. So he also was, you know, he was starting to feel like part of the band too.
Yeah.
So we started to think about, no, we got to do something, you know, we got to release something with you singing. And the first song was Danger, and then we a few time after that we we thought about re-releasing Nothing Lasts Forever, because you know it coincidentally was the favorite song from all the band, you know. I was the only one who recorded the first version that of the song, but everyone in the band, you know, loved this song, and we thought that, you know, but when we were playing live, it was a lot better, you know.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we decided to re-release the song, because you know we could now increase it with our, no, like the way we were playing live.
Right. Right. Absolutely. It's so good. And I'm not saying that this is a great album in itself, but I got to be honest with you. And Butch and I have talked about this from that first album to Preachers 2. We're talking monumental growth. The production, the songwriting, the structures, the performance by everybody in the band. This is just amazing. And I mean,
Thanks.
this ranked very, very high on my best of 2025. But I listen to this constantly, and it is it's so good. And I know that people have compared you to a lot of like the 80s sound and vibe, which we all have our influences, but I don't think it detracts from the band, because you guys have your own very, very unique style and sound. And there's even like a bit of a darkness throughout this whole album that really is cohesive and just makes it, for lack of a better term, it's fucking metal, man. you know? So
Yeah.
how did you guys get hooked up with High Roller Records? Because they're one of my favorite labels. There's a couple of labels that I feel get everything right, and they're one of them. So I was really glad to see that. How did that all come about?
You know, well, I agree with you. You know, I started to collect records when I was younger, and some of my favorite bands, mainly you know, no new bands like, you know, Enforcer and Future and, you know,
Yeah.
Cruel Force. I got some of these records, and they were from High Roller. And then at that time, I was that was when I, how can I say, when I was when I first I don't know if that's the word, but when I first met the label, and I started to looking for their things in internet and stuff, and it was just something so far away from me, because you know I can be wrong, but I don't think that any Brazilian band were in that label at that time, and I don't know if I believe they're releasing some records from Brazilian bands, other Brazilian bands now, but most, like I say, thrash metal bands.
Sure.
And it was like, man, it would be very cool, to reach that. Although I was even thinking really about that. And when like I said, the first album was released by Bart Gabriel, and to this album, I asked him to master the album. And then when he mastered the album, I asked him if he would know knew some label who might be interested in releasing the album since he had closed his label, and he told me about High Roller, and then he made the contact.
Right. Okay.
This is how we got in touch with them.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a perfect match. I think they, from
Yeah,
the packaging and the vinyl colors and everything, but I think you guys are a
yeah.
really, really good addition to that roster. I think you fit in beautifully.
Yeah, I think they're great. They have been great to me. They are really helping the band. It's not just releasing records and you guys
Right.
are on your own.
Right.
They're really supporting us, and that's
Sure.
really cool.
So let's get into the record a little bit too, because there's not a like lull in this record. There's not like some records you listen to, you get to like a low point and you're like, okay, well, wait till this. This is just a banger from start to finish. Even the intro Inferno right into Devil in Disguise. um Beware the Creatures. Let's stop for a second and talk about that video, because that video is awesome. Who came up with the concept of that? Because it's so like dark and brooding, and you got the bar, and obviously the transformation, and kind of tell me how that came about, and was that your idea completely?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of. I believe almost all people who like metal, yes, but I'm a big fan of horror movies,
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff. And I
absolutely.
do like lots of movies who kind of mix the both, like metal and horror movies. Like, and I there's this movie which I like it a lot. It's called Trick or Treat. I think you might know
Sammy
it. And
Sammy Kerr.
then yeah, this film is awesome, and when I watched that, I was like, man, I this is very cool, There's another movie called Black Roses.
Oh,
I don't know
great
if
movie.
you ever heard of it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
this is more like we what the clip is all about. It's
sure.
like a band coming in the city and strange things. It's kind of starting to happen. But I when we when I finished the demo for Beware the Creatures, I immediately started to think about, man, it would be very cool to release this song with a video clip. Uh, and then I started to think about this story and stuff. And at first, I thought even that it would be impossible to do it. So when we finally did that, I was very happy. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, we got it. No, I also love that clip. It's something that I'm really proud of.
Oh man, you guys knocked it out of the park. It's so awesome. I remember the day it was released too. I was like, here it is. And I watched it and I was just, big smile on the face, because it does it takes you back. You guys captured, the bridge between horror and metal like perfectly. It was a lot of fun to watch.
And then I believe this is the word. No, it's kind of fun. It's not
Yeah.
something too scary anymore, or to
Yeah.
be very serious. It's just no to have fun watching it. I think
Yeah.
that we reach it that.
You did. You completely captured that vibe. That was really, really cool. So I want to ask you about a couple of songs in particular on here, because Devil in Disguise is just a barn burner. Just it comes out and kicks you in the face right away. And as the album kind of goes through, you do have that ebb and flow. The track order is perfect. The way that everything is listed. But Path of the Night, I'm a sucker for a really good closer. It's just because I like everything to come full circle. And that song is so good. And one of my favorite parts of that is the way that the chorus lyrics have that ascending order where Mark sings higher and higher until you get to that plateau.
Hmm.
Now, you're the main writer for pretty much everything, correct?
Yeah, I
So
wrote
did, did
all the songs act.
did you have any kind of particular melody in mind when you were writing that song? Just because I love it so much, I have to know these kind of things.
Yeah. When I was writing this song, I was thinking about a movie called I believe it's called The Witch. It's a kind of
Oh,
new movie, and
yeah, yeah.
I,
Okay.
what's the name of the director? It's a famous director. He did Nosferatu.
I know I
A
can't think
few
of his name off the top of my head, but I know who you
Yeah,
mean.
but you know what movie I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
I was something that I liked about that movie is that it's a scary movie and a horror movie, but it's not that a lot of things happen at the same time. It's kind of slow, it
Yeah.
is growing attention, and you're kind of feeling it. And I was thinking about I mean, it's not like the lyrics is just a description of the movie. It's inspired, but I was more inspired by this thing of it is something that it's not fast and not a lot of things at the same time. It's kind of growing attention and slowly, like you said in the chorus. It's not just hits you at first. It keeps growing until
Yes.
it hits you. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. There's that. Oh, talking about musically, there's a song by Alice Cooper called Steven that I
Oh, so
was
good.
that inspired me a lot in this one too, because we have the piano
Yep.
and I think it was around that,
I got
something
you.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Steven's a good reference point for that song. I can kind of see where that would blend a little bit. That's a great song in and of itself too. So, um, let's talk a little bit about what you guys have coming up because you guys are kind of riding the wave on Creatures too because it's been received so well.
Mhm.
Um, has it been received as well in Brazil as it seems like it has in Europe? And I know a lot of us here in the States are starting to catch on too.
Yeah, it was. I mean, here in Brazil, we don't have a huge, like let's put it this way, heavy metal, mainly classic, traditional heavy metal,
Yeah.
however you want to call it, metal scene. It's. I think it's a kind of small metal scene, but it's a loyal one and it's a
Yeah.
good one. And people seem to like. We did a few shows a few weeks ago, and in February we did the release shows, and almost all shows were full of people, and they were singing, they were
Yeah.
singing along, and it was really great. I can feel I couldn't feel the I could feel the difference, between these shows and the shows we did before we released the album.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It seems like there's a real excitement about what's going on with Creatures right now. So speaking of the shows you just did in February, the live footage that High Roller just put out of there's new videos of you guys playing
Yeah,
live. Is it from those shows?
yeah, it is from these shows. We were the opening act for Enforcer from
Oh,
Sweden,
okay. Okay.
and it was great shows. And no, what I really liked about it is that almost all the audience were there for Enforcer, but they were there for us too. They were wearing T-shirts and they knew
Yeah.
our songs. And most of those people haven't they haven't gone to a Creature show before.
Sure. Yeah.
So it was their first time watching us. They first listened to the to Creatures too, and then they discovered the band, and then they went to see us live, and they already have the T-shirts. They already knew the songs, and that was awesome. It's a great feeling to see
I
that.
I was just gonna say that's gotta make you feel just so good. And to be on stage
Yeah,
and and watching them sing your lyrics back to you, that's got to be just
Yeah,
amazing.
that's the I mean that's the best part, you know. That's the what makes all that that it that we do works, you know. It's a really amazing feeling.
Yeah. Keep It True is coming up.
Yeah, it's you
You
know
guys have
it's
got to be
next week.
stoked. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like you know I can't even think about because if I think too much about it, I started to get crazy, you know.
That is an amazing, amazing festival. Very well run. I myself have never been there. I've got plenty of friends that have, and I've never heard a bad thing about it. So I feel Creatures is going to be just a massive hit at that festival. I think you guys are going to have an absolute
I hope
blast.
you're right.
Oh,
I
you
hope so. I
will.
hope you're right.
Now, is there a couple extra shows booked around that festival in Europe? I think I saw a couple of dates. Is that what you're doing, or is it
It's
just the
it
festival?
it it was just we're going to do two more shows. You
Okay.
know,
Yep.
we were invited to keep it through in December last year. We are actually okay, how can I say? We are covering it for a band that couldn't make it, you know.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then how it was kind of last minute, so it was we were you know getting ready to go to Europe next year.
Hmm.
We already have a another festival we were going to play in 2027. It's called Heavy Metal Thunder, and
Oh,
but and then it came to us last minute. But you know, like I stated before to you, when I was first you know meeting this whole you know underground metal scene,
sure.
I remember I had a computer. It was just one computer in my house, and I had a family with six people. So I was you know after midnight when everyone else was sleeping, I put at my phones and started to looking for bands, and then I discovered a video from Medieval Steel playing "Keep It
Oh yeah.
True." It's an amazing video. It you know it gives me chills to these days, and I started to see more videos and you know it was kind of one of those things that we don't really expect that will happen, but you know it's like a something really great. It's like a dream coming true to us because actually we're going to be the first Brazilian band in history you know to ever play this festival, so it's something really great. I'm
That's
really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like I said, I'm here in the States, and a lot more people are catching on to Creatures, but just the response that I've seen where were like, "Hey, did you see the Creatures got added to Keep It True? Oh, that's fantastic." So there's there's a lot of us that are absolutely rooting for you guys and are so
That's
happy for you.
awesome. You know,
Yeah.
to be honest to you, I didn't imagine that, you know, there's so much people in the States that knew us and like this. So it's really cool to hear that.
Yeah, there is a big difference, and Butch and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it with several of our guests too, that the music scene in the States is quite a bit different from Europe, where I feel in Europe, heavy metal never went out of style. It's always been, a very true, complete lifestyle, a way of life. Where in the States, it's a little different. It's real flavor of the month, and people move on real quick. There's not that loyalty to a band that you would get from fans in Europe. And I'm not saying that's a
I
good,
see.
bad, or otherwise. It's just different. I
It's
think it's a
just different.
cultural thing.
I
Yeah,
got it.
yeah. So yeah, I think you're going to do fantastic in Europe. I can only hope that we'll see you in the States at some point. That would be really, really
I hope
awesome.
to.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But so moving on, I know you said that you've got a festival appearance in 27, but now that things are really on an upswing for you and the band, what are the next goals? What do you have in mind? Like, okay, we've reached this. We're going to Europe. What's the next step for you guys?
I think that we are, you know, I believe that we would like to you know kind of keep this like normal you know regular
Sure.
you know releasing an albums and going to Europe. That's what I think it's our goal right now, you know. Right after this this trip we're going to do with to Europe now in April. We're when we get back to Brazil, I think we are just started to uh, a new album. You know,
Hmm.
I already have a lot enough songs to a new album. So we're going to start to produce that and see how it will do. And I hope we can release a new album next year. It's just something I think, and but it's just really far. But I think that first of all, keep doing this. We can keep things at this level. Would be it's a true goal. And of course, like you said, we really would like to go to the States and to Japan. It's a place where we would like to play too.
Band would be great too. Mateus, are you the type of musician that writes almost every day? Do you always have ideas in your head that you feel like you have to get written down or on tape or anything? Are you constantly keeping ideas?
I wouldn't say every day, but I keep constantly writing. I never stop writing. I mean, there is those times when you got some mental block and you can't
Yeah.
write anything. But I try to keep writing songs constantly. Never stop that. I think that one of the main things about writing, not just maybe not just songs, but we're talking about songs now is when you got this idea, when this idea comes to your mind, you got to record it, because it no it will just vanish in a couple of minutes, so you got to record it. So I try to record everything, every idea, and then maybe I'll hear it later and I think it sucks, but sometimes and most times I think it works, and I'm kind of like
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
As I listen to the album, and even with the very first album, you can always try to hear people's influences. And I know that Creatures has been compared to Dokken and Rat a little bit, and there's a lot of Judas Priest, but my first go round, obviously, I think Mark does sound a little like Lizzie Borden. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that plenty of times.
Yeah,
But
a
I,
lot
I
of
also
times.
I also hear Crimson Glory in your music quite a bit. So,
Yeah,
I think there's some comparisons there too, and that's not a bad thing. Again, I think you guys have taken that vibe and made it your absolute own and very unique, and that's what makes it so special. But I got to ask you, the more I listen to it, I'm picking out a lot of is okay, I'll just ask you, is Yngwie Malmsteen one of your heroes?
yeah, of course. I
Okay.
love Ingve Malmsteen. I love the the first albums, from the first album to Fire and Ice. I love those albums.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The, the albums that came after that is I'm not just so much into it, but I love his first works. Like Marching Out and
Yeah.
Trilogy, and he's a big influence to me in guitar. So you're right.
Yeah, yeah, I do hear that a little bit here and there in your soloing, and your soloing's fantastic, if I can add that too. So, but
Thank you.
um I just one last question. We like to ask our guests this. So, let's pretend that you are all alone, desert island. You get to pick one album to listen to forever.
Oh man,
What album what
that's
album you taking?
that's not fair. You're putting me in a very serious situation now. I mean, right now, I think that I would choose Marching Out from Yngwie Malmsteen. It's an album that I'm listening to a lot, and I seems like I'm always discovering new things in these albums, and I think that not just the guitar work, but the songwriting, it's amazing, and so I would be happy if I just could listen to it for the rest of my life.
That's a good pick. That's an absolute good pick. Well, Mateus, I want to be respectful of your time, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. If
No, it's
you
my pleasure, man.
if you ever have anything you'd like to promote, the For the Sake of Heaviness is here for you. Feel free to join us anytime you want. Okay.
Okay, I just want to thank you. It's really great to be here. Thank you for being so comprehensive about the things that happened. For we have to postpone so many times this interview, but It's really great, and it was great to hang with you. So thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Anytime. It was fantastic, and I thank you as well. So give my best to the rest of the band. We'll be watching for more Creatures news, new album coming up maybe next year, who knows, but we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah,
So, all right. I want
yeah,
to thank everybody for joining us on For the Sake of Heaviness, and we'll see you real soon.
yeah.